Here for you. That's what we do. You can call us live on the program. We're going to talk about all kinds of topics today. Jeremiah Bates is here. I'm Brian Wiley. We're both fiduciary financial advisors. That's all we do. We don't do taxes. We don't do insurance, but we can certainly talk about those probably to a deeper effect than most others. So if you have some questions, today's a great time to bring those questions to us. 979-596-6639. Wow, that's hard to remember. No, it's not. 979-59-MONEY. You know how much money we should have paid for that type of phone number, Jeremiah? Like, come on, that is. Oh, you remember how the back in the day it was like 800, and you could just recognize it from then. It's like repeating numbers, and things get harder to get. Oh, the big reset. We had deep conversation with somebody talking about was it self-representing on a real estate deal.
Yeah, no, it's I think we're starting to see some dynamics change when we talk about what we've seen in residential real estate, particularly over the past few years, where we saw this incredible ascent, we saw this peak, and now, I mean, you could look at headline numbers, and you got to take those with a grain of salt because that's usually doing casting a broad net on, averages, but we're starting to see things stay stagnant. We're starting to see prices drop. The consumer price index was released for the previous month, for the month of January, show that cost of shelter, rent, those things are dropping as well. So a lot of sticky components in that inflation realm that many people were saying that we're lagging and that eventually we are going to see those things start to decelerate. You could argue that we're actually starting to see that through this macroeconomic number. So I digress. Back to what we're looking at with this particular client is, they've been looking for a house, but clearly there's a disconnect from where the valuation of home prices are to what they actually wanted to spend. So they'd essentially given up hope. They're like, well, it's going to be a horse race now. I'm just going to invest my money because that's what I want to do, and we'll see how it shakes out. And then we'll get to a point of hopefully max capacity where then I can go buy that house that's maybe north of $1 million that he's just like, I'm not going to pay that right now. It's just not in the cards. So you fast forward, an opportunity presented itself, and it was from a private builder. So this wasn't an occupied home by an owner. It's a spec home, meaning builder comes in, they build a couple lots. They're speculating that, hey, they likely took on a construction loan. They built it. Hopefully they can time it right. They net positive. They keep things moving. Now, it's interesting. This house was listed about a year ago, high price. I think it was just south of $1 million, and then it disappeared, popped back up on a listing, and it was probably dropped to maybe 750 or so. I think that's around the number.
Man, that's a giant. Oh, that's a giant amount to step back for whoever it is that is now invested or was invested in that spec home. Can you imagine? They must be nervous, is what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
To go back that far.
Well, especially if you're carrying it for that long. I mean, you got to understand that these builders, they want to close the deal and then roll that into the next opportunity that they're finding, right?
Wait, how long ago was it at $1 million? And then you're saying roughly 750?
Early spring of 2025. So we're almost going on a year.
Okay, so a year it was $1 million? 1 year ago?
Pretty close, yeah.
Okay. I mean, that's a great example of how a great performing asset can make a significant pullback. Like that's 33% that they pulled that number back. I mean, or 25% you could look at it, but it's a huge discount. That changes profitability. I would imagine that builder might even, was it their only home that you think that they've ever done?
Well, so I was looking.
That's like a finance disrupting event for that person.
My client kind of had some specifics on this, and then he was showing me the location of the unit. You can clearly see that it's an established neighborhood. There's an open lot at the dead end of the street. That lot they then used to, same builder, build 3 homes.
Okay.
So 2 of those they hit the mark, right? They were built on time. They were at the right peak of the market. They sold, so they probably walked away with a handsome net profit for the builder. That one that my client's looking at, It lagged a little bit. It was the last out of the 3. They missed that peak. Market, I wouldn't say rolled over, but we're starting to see that on the other side. So it's just a little bit of mistiming, right? I mean, it's great to be right place, right time, which this builder arguably was for those other 2. So this 3, just not the case.
Oh, the builder had it all. It's kind of the retailer effect where you're in the red through most of the time where you've got all this stuff hanging on the racks, and you get to the point where now you're suddenly in the black. So then you wonder, why do they all of a sudden discount stuff? Because that's where the profit is. Mm-hmm. So at this point now, just discount the last home. That's the final profit, pulls the cash out, and that's how you get it, I would guess. All right.
Yo, but the interesting part of the story
is the self-representation.
Well, the self-representation, because it happens so fast, where it's like, hey, initial conversation, and they didn't even seem that this was a sure deal. It's kind of like, we're going to go see. And then it's like, hey, we're actually going to move on this. 20% down. So obviously we got to be privy to that to make sure that we're freeing up cash and that it's there when they need it, right? As far as their non-qualified accounts being a non-retirement account, so they're able to put the cash down. And he's like, yeah, I'm going to go offer. And then I just threw it out there, who you working with an agent? He's like, no, I'm just going to work directly with the listing agent. I'm like, wow. I'm like, how are you doing this? He's like, well, I'm pretty well versed in this stuff. I'm like, yeah, I got some other. You could argue he's accessing the world's greatest intelligence, aka AI, to kind of help guide him and craft up these offers and maybe give him a little more insight, because there's the idea, but then there's actual tactical steps of actually what that looks like.
It's interesting because on the buyer side of it, I would say, because I've got an opinion against how the real estate industry has operated for a number of years with a monopoly and only showing their listings that exist on something that they own exclusive, meaning any pushback that I could possibly give was the greatest. But my examples always said, I don't think sellers need to have a real estate agent any longer. I have said that buyers probably do, because that's how you find the properties. But if your client already found the property, then that part's done. Now the next part is down to the legalese and the fair deal and the contracts and title and escrow and making sure you understand all the responsibilities. Does the house qualify for, what kind of loans, FHA? It just could get complicated there. So on the buyer side, but I fully like this. I do. Think about how much money is being saved.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, if you look at it from this side, again, it's looking at status quo, like standard procedure, then correct me if I'm wrong, but you're looking at 6%, right? Mm-hmm. 6% total commission that's going to be paid by the seller. And generally speaking, that's split between the buying agent and the listing agent.
Plus expect another 1% on top of that. So they're going to come up with photography fees, and they're going to come up with putting the lock on the door fee for some reason. Whatever it is, they're going to add things, and roughly it's about 7%.
But meaning, assuming that is the case, where that was built in the agreement between the agent and the seller, that they had already earmarked essentially 3% to go towards a buyer agent, but there's no buying agent, you're self-representing. That does give you some good negotiating firepower coming into the deal, where you can say, well, hey, I pretty much well know that you already have set aside $20,000 seller from your net profitability to go to a buyer agent. So instead of it going to a buyer agent, let's just reroute that to covering closing costs, buying down the rate, maybe structuring a 3-2-1 or a 2-1 type setup for the loan for the buyer. Meaning it does give you optionality with that. And I just found it really interesting. I'm like, this is something that I'm experiencing in my little, with my single client here in our office. And it's just interesting to see if that's the trajectory where things are going to be going on a bigger scale. Now, again, there is something to be said where I told this story, maybe it was last week or the week before, where there was a listing agent where she actually did bring value. She was very creative in how she did the photos and actually taking furniture out of her own house to stage the house, which everyone called her crazy, but it worked. So
it's marketing. That is marketing.
I don't want to discount that, but there is something to be said. But there is something to be said about, hey, if you have the desire and you have the wherewithal and generally some level of knowledge, that's self-representation. I don't think that is something that is going to be very uncommon. I think that trend actually might switch, or there's going to be just an augmentation where you're doing like a hybrid self-representation and maybe paying a flat fee for advice or contractors.
So now I want to hear from somebody who is self-represented on either side of the real estate deal. And how did it go? Did you have an experience that was positive? Can you tell us about it? 979-59-MONEY. And I don't care what part of the country you're in, it's the same effect. Now, a little background about this which is you've got the real estate, the NAR, the National Association of Realtors, which, I don't want to say anything bad. We do a lot of financial education for that organization, and it's based out of Washington. They got a lot of political sway. Now, you think about real estate investing is to the benefit of a lot of people. It keeps the construction industry going and so on. So there's a lot of lobbying going on in Washington, D.C. I have just had a fundamental problem with one thing, which is the MLS period. Which is it's an exclusive real estate listing site that nobody else can have access to unless you pay them for it. And then it's got to be through a licensed realtor who is then a member of it. And my feel on this one is the fact that we were paying 6 or 7% as standard shouldn't be that way. So where's the trend go? Is it easier? Do you feel better about self-representing? Would you do it? Call us, 979-596-6639. I'm Brian. That's Jeremiah. This is Real Money Pros. Businesses today face a barrage of challenges. They hunt for top talent, the search for the right benefits package, and the ever-rising tide of healthcare rates. And putting together the right team to run your HR-related tasks can be expensive, let alone time-consuming. Enter Ataraxis PEO, your professional employer organization ready to tackle all your HR needs from payroll to benefits administration, payroll services, workers' compensation, and talent recruiting. They've got you covered. With Ataraxis, you gain access to a team of experts who handle the nitty-gritty of HR, freeing you up to focus on what you do best, growing your business and growing your revenue. Ataraxis takes the time to learn about your business, crafting personalized solutions to help you and your team succeed. So say goodbye to the stress of HR administration and hello to Ataraxis. Experience the power of a true business partner with Ataraxis PEO. Visit ataraxispeo.com. That's ATARAXISPEO.com. Ataraxis, elevating businesses for the benefit of all.
Looking to make your dream of home ownership a reality? Look no further than Academy Mortgage, your first choice home loan lender. Academy strives to offer the best rates and terms tailored to your financial situation. At Academy Mortgage, you'll be treated like family, not just another file. Navigating today's ever-changing housing market can be challenging, but their team is here to help. Experience the zero-down options, including loans with no mortgage insurance. They also provide specialized medical professional loans and unique 2-to-1 rate buydowns that reduce your monthly payment for the first initial years of your loan. And forget about dealing with brokers and middlemen. With Academy Mortgage, everything happens in-house, from origination to funding. Say goodbye to hassles and surprises. Begin your home ownership journey today by visiting them online at academymortgage.com. That's academymortgage.com.
Academy Mortgage Corporation, NMLS 3113, is an equal housing lender.
Academy Mortgage, your first choice home loan lender.
I know you've been waiting a little bit longer than normal.
Jen's manicure spot needs an extra pair of hands.
Who's at the front desk right now?
Someone who's handy with everything from nail files to spreadsheet files.
Deidre's not coming in today, but we have that whole bachelorette party.
Indeed can help her hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Instant Match instantly connects you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your sponsored job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
And now, back to the Real Money Pros.
We are back. This is The Real Money Pros, therealmoneypros.com. You can interact with us online. Better yet, you can call the program. This is a live financial program. We're talking about anything. We could talk about economics, politics, if you'd like, estate planning, taxes. But right now, we just started off talking about real estate because Jeremiah met with somebody that is going to self-represent on a real estate deal, which is fine. Doesn't matter if it's the buyer or the seller. Actually, both are, if you think about it. So the seller is a builder, and they're self-representing without having, I guess, an agent market. Was that kind of the case?
No, it's essentially it. So you have a spec home, a builder, they have a listing agent, and this person is they're operating directly with the listing agent.
Okay, and we know that seller was listing the price of the home at roughly $1 million before, was thinking, probably factored it in, that they're going to pay roughly 6 or 7% to move that piece of property, right? So $70,000 is going to go out. Well, now they're asking $750,000, but they've got $70,000 in power right now, because the power is that your client isn't represented by anybody, not going to cost them 3.5%. And then the seller now is not having to pay it. So there's some negotiating room, and it mitigates some of the losses, I guess you could say, on that property for the builder of it. And that power now is the question is, do you trust technology to help you? Do you still realize that you think you need to have a real estate agent? Think about this, and we're going to go to a phone call in just a moment. If you were a real estate agent and you're helping negotiate contracts between a buyer and a seller, which is really odd because they could be representing each side. No attorneys I know of are allowed to represent each side. They've got to take a side, and they're going to declare a side. So here we are. Now they get that special exception. They get to negotiate these contracts and act like they're representing both sides' best interests, which is really interesting, and dealing with the largest financial transaction in the history of that person, probably. And they give legal advice and are not attorneys, are admittedly are marketing people, trying to connect people to something that is expressed usually emotionally, and that's how they go find the properties, or market something which is going to sell better and quicker if they do it and try to appeal to people's emotions, attractiveness. They're marketers, providing legal advice for 7% of a real estate deal. So call the program, oppose me on this one, but my feel on it is that this entire world has turned into a giant marketing machine anyway. You got a social media doing it. You've got the news organizations doing it. And so do we really have a marketing problem? I would say no, we're going to have to really focus on the contract problem then. In which case, isn't an attorney a better option and probably a lot less expensive than 7% of the deal? 979-59-MONEY. That's 979-596-6639. We'll go to the phones right now. Calling out of Boise, Idaho, we've got Greg on the line. Hi, Greg.
Hey there, guys. Well, you know, when you need the greatest advice bad, you need Brian Wiley and Jeremiah. So when Jeremiah goes through this process, contact him, and he'll help you through it because it's convoluted. I was in the financial planning business for 30 years. Real quick, I got hit by an SUV. She wasn't paying attention. I was a pedestrian, and it killed me. I have suffered financially, devastated financially. I just had to sell my house, and I had a great realtor who represented me on both sides. And she did some amazing work. I had to fight the mortgage company. I had to fight a potential auction. They wouldn't work with my attorneys. So people, you need good advice. You need it bad. And you need to call Brian, and you need to call Jeremiah. You need to stay in contact with them because they'll help you walk through it. Otherwise, you're going to be standing out in the desert with no pants on.
Oh, man, Greg, this is a great phone call, and sorry about the misfortune there. I mean, I hate to hear this. And this is probably, the way you're describing it was a short sale listing, right, where the home needed to be then taken back to the market, negotiated with maybe one or two mortgage companies, and then you've got to have a listing agent that's going to go out there and help establish the value, the whole bit, get it marketed, work the deal out. Is that the scenario we're describing?
Yeah, and what I was telling Jeremiah is I did a FINRA whistleblower complaint against a broker-dealer. I resigned on March 19th and was dead by April 25th. I lost, I managed 50 minutes. I lost the practice. I got my clients taken care of. But let me tell you what, if it can happen to me, I call it unpredictable predictability. You need to tune into this show. You need to listen to Brian and Jeremiah. They know what they're doing. For me, being in the business 30 years, they're the best in the West. And I'm going to tell you what, you cannot navigate it alone. Everything is a commodity. And the biggest commodity is these two guys' brain power.
This is nice. And I got to just say, one is we did not prompt this phone call. Thank you, Greg. You know how our industry works.
The well wishes.
And, man, that was some really nice stuff. And we have to, as fiduciaries, you know that, is that here Jeremiah and I are still very fallible. Like, we don't give perfect advice. We try to, but we don't give perfect advice. We always got to do our research. You need to do your research. So, you still have to say, we got to say there could potentially not be the outcome that we're looking for, whatever it might be. But thank you. Like, man, that was really nice.
Well, you're welcome.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
I appreciate it much. And here's the thing I feel that the industry, like the real estate industry, since we're focusing on that call right now or in that topic, which the industry just became less relevant is my point. Like you get to the point where it is the legalese, but there's still marketing issues. Like do we pay these same amounts just because tradition got us here, or do we maybe actually modernize it? And I think there's probably room in it. I got to tell you, I'd be very careful with representing yourself on just about anything, like even a dissolution of a marriage. Like going pro se, you could be the biggest fool's game ever. You don't know what your opposing side is doing. They may be just appeasing you into doing that. Like you find yourself in a lot of trouble. I'd always get the extra advice, but same thing. Do you want to go sit in front of the IRS without having a very knowledgeable EA or CPA sitting with you that has some sort of power of attorney during an audit where they know that they're maybe opening the wrong files and could stop things like that? Or do you want to just try to go into it nice and you've got it kumbaya right now with IRS? I'm going to pass just fine. And then they come in and find something you didn't even know about. Or think about estate planning. Estate planning is another one. You can go online right now. You can do your own will, your own trust. But I got to tell you, when it comes to trying to dispose of that estate or having any mistakes or somebody misaligned about how the distribution is going to go at the end, you're probably going to appreciate that there was some real legal advice given that was pertinent to the state that you live in, under your family situation, the whole bit. Last one, Social Security. If you got declined for a disability claim, which just about everybody does, you need to have an attorney go with you. Otherwise, you're going to walk right in, they're going to deny it, and you don't know the technicals. I'm just saying on the real estate side of it, I'm not sure we don't know the technicals anymore. So there are times when you need them and times when you don't, but there is no reason for the level of control that the National Association of Realtors has had over that entire industry.
Well said. Yeah, I think Greg brought it up where he's like, you don't want to be caught with your pants down in the desert, right? And I think in his case, having representation, a seller agent who, and that's a situation where 100% you want a professional that's hopefully working in your best interest that can help you get to your desired outcome. The client that I'm working this in this regard, you could arguably look at where he's got the time to do it, he's got the desire to do it, very sharp, very technical minded. And he knows exactly what he wants. Like, he's like, I want this. I know the numbers that I'm working with. So this seems like there's not a lot of friction here. Like, why would I need to bring in a third party to help strategize when I know my own strategy?
I think the overarching question is when do you actually just need, you might know enough, and when do you feel like you probably should get the advice? Well, you can call the program 979-59-MONEY. We just heard Greg's comments about having representation. Have you done it without representation? We want to hear that side as well. This is the Real Money Pros.
As we age, managing our finances can become increasingly complex with ever-changing tax laws, estate planning, insurance needs, and investment environments. At Apollon Wealth Management, their goal is simple: to help enrich your life with personalized, expert financial advice. With a nationwide network of advisors, they're committed to delivering the best solutions for your financial future. It's time to take control and get the guidance you deserve. Connect with an advisor today by visiting The Real Money Pros. That's therealmoneypros.com.
Did you have a tax strategy going into this year to help maximize your tax savings? I'm Jeremiah Bates with Tree City Advisors of Apollon. We consider key factors like required minimum distributions, Social Security, net unrealized appreciation, 1031 exchanges, and more. Because a good advisor should help you with more than just investment selection. Visit us today at treecityadvisors.com or call us at 208-888-1244.
Advisory services offered through Apollon Wealth Management, LLC, DBA Tree City Advisors of Apollon, an investment advisor registered with the Securities and Exchange Commission.
As a financial advisor, I often see that many families I meet with end up paying way too much money in taxes. If a healthy family has an insurance plan with a low deductible but high annual premium, why wouldn't they look at a high deductible insurance plan instead? They could save on their premiums and put those saved dollars into a health savings account, also known as an HSA. It's the most powerful tax advantage account title available to us, so why not use it? Take advantage of pre-tax money that could be grown tax-free and and then use tax-free for all of your qualified healthcare expenses. That's why you need Lively. Our favorite because it's simple, fast, and free. I use it, my colleagues use it, and I recommend it to all of my clients. Visit Lively right away. You can even roll over your existing HSA money into this new plan and start saving right away. I know you're going to love the entire experience. Visit livelyme.com/pro today. That's livelyme.com/PRO. Lively is a proud sponsor of the Real Money Pros.
If you have a small business, Staples has your sign.
Banners for my bakery?
Staples has your sign.
Oh, posters for my new pet store.
Floor decals for a pharmacy.
Every day, Staples associates help every kind of small business create bold signs to make big impressions. And now get $10 off custom signs, banners, and posters when you spend $50 or more. This is your sign, so print it big at Staples. Ends 5/28. Visit staplesconnect.com/thisisyoursign for details.
Imagine financial advice without a sales pitch to buy something, and imagine a long-term financial plan focused on your goals, not somebody else's, and the day that you can leave your broker because you know how to do things on your own. At Tree City Advisors, we do things a bit differently than our peers. First, we help you define your purpose for investing. We help you clean up messes or complicated financial issues from your past. We help you organize all your financial pieces into something manageable. We're a fiduciary-only firm, and we design simple strategies. And we teach you how it all works without clutter, confusion, or high costs. We can either do your investments for you or we can teach you how to do them on your own. In the end, we empower you with knowledge, lower fees, and confidence. Welcome to Tree City Advisors. This is the way we think if financial advisors should work for their clients. At Tree City Advisors, we provide flat fee planning and training. We also offer full service asset management, and we employ do-it-yourself technologies. There's never a fee for an initial meeting or review, so let's get started. Learn more at treecityadvisors.com. Tree City Advisors is an SEC registered investment advisor.
Listening to the Real Money Pros.
We are back. This is the Real Money Pros, therealmoneypros.com. That's how you find us. 2-hour program. If your station's only carrying 1 hour of it, sorry, ask them to carry the second hour. But you can find us on any podcasting app. Plus, we also have a video feed, so you can find us on YouTube. But go to our website at therealmoneypros.com. We've got great content there, educational. We're sponsor supported, and this is we do work as fiduciaries right here on the air. Greg, thanks for the call. Super appreciated that. Phone lines are open, 979-59-MONEY. Greg said he really got some value at one point from his agent. He needed some help working out deals with the mortgage agents and so on due to misfortune. Now, that's a whole nother topic, which is, do you carry disability policies and what types and what kind of event insurance do you have? How deep does the coverage go? That's a great topic, maybe even for the next hour of the program. But right now, I'm still railing on the real estate industry, but nicely. Yeah, and here's part of the reason for it. When I first started, Jeremiah, as a financial advisor, I was told you got to choose a niche market, and you got to go out there and really, you hammer that one, and eventually it's going to work, and it's just repetition the whole bit. And I actually took that as advice. Well, problem is I chose the real estate industry, and it was such a bad decision because what I found out, when I would walk into a firm, and this is, I'm sure it's just a bad example, but it's realistic in my mind, there could be 40 offices on the perimeter, and then you've got about 20 offices in the middle that are cubicles, and you had somebody trying to wait for phone calls and everything. The ones that were actually in the corners of the building were probably supporting the entire office operations, and the ones who were going to be the next up-and-comings, as I learned, were probably the ones that were sitting there doing the phone time. The rest of them were not, they didn't have any investable assets. It became an example for the entire real estate industry for me that I became a little soured on it, but I found it to be more true, which is you have agents in your city that you recognize their names, and they do most of the deals. And then and I'm saying agents, so you could have one listing and have one buying, and I'm going to guess that you would have the smoothest transacting deal possible due to experience. versus the one that's doing one deal a year. And then that one becomes a problem and you're paying that much money. My point is that I think the industry could be really notched down to just having that contract negotiation. Of course, you got to find the property and you got to have a seller, the whole bit. There is some marketing that's going on. But the fact that it has been a standard amount of money that they pay them for possibly incompetence, because again, like you're probably going to choose, if you're going to sell your home, you're going to, who are you going to hire? I have learned through my lifetime, I'm going to go out there and actually find the biggest agent, listing agent in that area, because I want the home marketed right. I want them, I know they're going to have a system. They're going to have people helping them. They're going to answer my stuff. They're not going to be too busy. Even if I want to run around and look at homes, they're going to have somebody that has a car available for me to hop in with them, whatever it might be, versus the agents that not doing very many deals. The other part of it is, because of the experience being a problem, if they're going to negotiate contracts, the experience becomes even more of an issue on that side of it, because we're talking about somebody giving you legal advice that's probably not an attorney. 979-59-MONEY. That's 979-596-6639. And I'm sorry, if you're a real estate agent, you're listening to the program, I am sympathetic about this too. Because I know what I've seen that makes successful real estate agents successful. And it's because they were the ones on the phone doing the phone duty. They were the ones that would walk out from their corner offices and greet me, not the ones that were hiding and they're ones to look at whatever they're looking at their computers, but it didn't seem like they're all doing real estate work. And it seems to me that they have hours, that they set them, they start putting together teams. They're business people. That industry is viable because of that, when you have the experience being the emphasis of it. Our industry is no different. And what Jeremiah was alluding to is that even, you get ChatGPT that can look at contracts and even help craft them and so on. That's a threat to that industry, especially the agents that are not competent. Okay, our industry was the same thing. In 2005 through 2007 or something like that, there was more licensed FINRA or SEC registered agents of some sorts than ever before. And then we had the market completely fall apart. And I was scared. I was losing clients. I had values of my accounts were going down, so I wasn't making as much money. But then what I was thinking about was, again, those agents going, yeah, but then that's the time when you got to call people. And I was actually taking what I learned from that industry to make sure that I wasn't going to be one of the shakeouts that was going to happen. You had thousands and thousands of real estate agents back then in every state. And I'm going to guess most states saw a reduction in about probably 70%. They gave up.
I wouldn't be surprised if that was the number.
It left the pros in it. We just went through a very similar event. I think the agents that made it through to this point, not the brand new ones. I don't want to discredit any of the new talent. The agents that made it through, there's probably a reason why they did. Either they have support from other resources or something, but it's been a very tough time for them. They also want to make deals. It's a good time. This is when you negotiate that 6% or 7%, whatever it might be. What's your experience? 979-59-MONEY. That's 979-596-6639. But I can't think of any other industry that would go to a seller, help them market their home, then pull a pocket deal out with a buyer in it, and then get the other 3% of it and think that they could fairly represent both sides without having a conflict in the deal.
Yeah. Well, I think it comes down to as well. I mean, I hate to use the car analogy because I think that chamois been rung so much, but it's not too dissimilar. It's like I'll change my own oil in my car. I'll do a lot of stuff that arguably I should just take to a shop just because of the time component. Mm-hmm. But I enjoy doing it. I know I'm doing it correctly, and I know that if you're dealing with some suspension, some brakes in your car, stakes are high. I mean, the safety of your vehicle, right? And I feel very confident in doing that. But a lot of people, majority of people don't. So then they'll go to the professional that does it. So they have that assurance, and they'll gladly pay the money for it. I think especially in the real estate industry, I think you're always going to have that. Like Greg's a prime example. It's like he probably could have done it if he really wanted to, but he talked about a situation that certainly didn't warrant him being the one that was both hands on the wheel trying to facilitate what sounds like a very complex real estate transaction. That's when you want to have representation with a professional that has experience, can give you the option A, B, C, and D, and then here's the what if this happens, and then they can kind of help map this out based on what your desired scenario is. Now, it also begs the question in this industry, and we've seen industries be disrupted in the past. And we don't need to cover all of them, but I mean, technology is is that existential threat to really any industry. And now you look at this momentum of AI, whether you're looking at driving the market or what industries it's disrupting. You mentioned it, Brian, attorneys, real estate agents,
financial advisors. We should all be threatened by AI.
Yeah, but again, I would also argue that maybe that tone is a little over heightened because again, technology has been growing; it's been here for us, and if we're really saying that AI or technology is going to take us this way, we'd see more people in insane, healthy, fit shape. More people would be. I mean, I think there would be a trend that we could see that this doomsdaying, like meaning for me, like when you talk about disrupting our industry, honestly, I'm not worried about it.
I'm not even in the least. My point is that a lot of the work of the financial advisors that I've seen could easily have been done now by AI. It's the other parts of it. It's when, my client just mentioned to me that, let's say that their son is really difficult, that he's really a wiry kid. I don't know. He's 8 years old. I'm totally making this up as I go. And the kid's a little difficult. Then they talk about their really mature daughter, and we're talking about wills or trust. And I'm thinking, well, you did mention that one part to me, even though nobody wants to identify this as like your son's a problem. Let's just anticipate it. Meaning there's some advice that would be pulled out that came out that because I recognize an emotion. That's where I would protect the human interaction. And same thing goes to the real estate side of it, which is now imagine a husband and wife going and sit in front of an agent and the husband's just real into numbers. And he's like, we just want the best deal. She's like, I just want the fanciest house. And somebody has to be able to figure out the values of both of those and how to mix them and then go find the right thing that's going to find the most satisfaction for them. That's the human interaction. Some industries are flat out at risk of AI, though. Just straight up replacement. Computer programmers, from what I understand, is what is probably talked about most. But you think about any data analytics person. Yeah. I mean, AR stuff, like financial stuff, billing and things like that.
Graphic design, that comes to mind too.
AIs can make phone calls now easily, probably as collectors. Probably convincing too. I don't know.
But there's also something to be said that I don't disagree, but there's also this in the back of my mind where I'm sure most listeners at this point and most people have used ChatGPT or Claude or Grok or these various outlets, and a lot of times it's wrong. I mean, it is just flat out wrong with what it feeds back. It's like, okay, you better not be putting all your eggs in that basket of thinking everything it says is worth its weight in gold, because I can tell you that it is not. And then the liability becomes the question of who's liable if you're getting bad advice and you're actually executing it. I doubt you can go sue Mr. GPT.
Well, I talked to a listener a couple of weeks ago, and I guess I surprised him when I said, no, I actually think that this is offline, by the way. I think just about anybody can actually self-invest, should be able to have the capabilities of doing it. But the problem is that most don't.
Businesses today face a barrage of challenges. They hunt for top talent, the search for the right benefits package, and the ever-rising tide of healthcare rates. And putting together the right team to run your HR-related tasks can be expensive, let alone time-consuming. Enter Ataraxis PEO, your professional employer organization ready to tackle all your HR needs from payroll to benefits administration, payroll services, workers' compensation, and talent recruiting. They've got you covered. With Ataraxis, you gain access to a team of experts who handle the nitty-gritty of HR, freeing you up to focus on what you do best, growing your business and growing your revenue. Ataraxis takes the time to learn about your business, crafting personalized solutions to help you and your team succeed. So say goodbye to the stress of HR administration and hello to Ataraxis. Experience the power of a true business partner with Ataraxis PEO. Visit ataraxispeo.com. That's ATARAXISPEO.com. Ataraxis, elevating businesses for the benefit of all.
I know you've been waiting a little bit longer than normal.
Jen's manicure spot needs an extra pair of hands.
Who's at the front desk right now?
Someone who's handy with everything from nail files to spreadsheet files.
Deidre's not coming in today, but we have that whole bachelorette party.
Indeed can help her hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed, you do. Instant Match instantly connects you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your sponsored job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
As a financial advisor, I often see that many families I meet with end up paying way too much money in taxes. If a healthy family has an insurance plan with a low deductible but high annual premium, why wouldn't they look at a high deductible insurance plan instead? They could save on their premiums and put those saved dollars into a health savings account, also known as an HSA. It's the most powerful tax advantage account title available to us, so why not use it? Take advantage of pre-tax money that could be grown tax-free and then use tax-free for all of your qualified healthcare expenses. That's why you need Lively, our favorite because it's simple, fast, and free. I use it, my colleagues use it, and I recommend it to all of my clients. Visit Lively right away. You can even roll over your existing HSA money into this new plan and start saving right away. I know you're going to love the entire experience. Visit livelyme.com/pro today. That's livelyme.com/PRO. Lively is a proud sponsor of the Real Money Pros.
The Real Money Pros.
We are back. This is The Real Money Pros, therealmoneypros.com. I know I get a little passionate about topics at times, but I think you do as well. And really my overarching question, which is, when does something truly become only kept around because it's, I guess, nostalgic? This is like coins. It doesn't make any financial sense anymore. I get it. But it's nostalgic. Well, sometimes I think that there's old rules even within every industry, or old practices which are just kept around for being nostalgia. And they become targets for other companies to go in and make something more efficient or create a different process. And that's the case with, you've got AI coming out with a lot of programmers out there trying to figure out ways to train them to target specific industries, groups, niches, whatever you want to say. And I think that should be a threat to get everybody to stand back up, say, I got to dust myself off from the laziness, this post-COVID laziness, and I got to reinvent what I'm doing. And when the markets fell apart, Jeremiah, in 2007 through 2009, I had to reinvent myself. I was in the middle of selling a practice at the time, trying to maintain the book. But what we found out, because of broadcasting too, was what we did best was the same thing that also, in my opinion, is what keeps us relevant, which was, I was talking to my listeners like I had a chance to try to calm them and to give them a human experience during the Great Recession. What ended up happening is a lot of those people decided that they needed a financial advisor. So our book actually grew. It was not expected, but it was a good deal that time. Well, then we just kept that as our business practice. And it's the same thing with the best real estate agents, which is, maybe they always used to deliver a new cutting board to the homeowners or whatever it is. And they keep that practice around because that's what got them to where they were. But when you try to make it too efficient or you disconnect from it, the laziness, it's good. How do you think the real estate industry should change, if it even needs to change? Do you have opinions about it? 979-59-MONEY. That's 979-596-6639. And I'll just hone one thing about what that bothered me most was the multiple listing service, which is operated by the National Association of Realtors, requires access to it. And you have to be a real estate agent to be able to get access to it. They pay fees for it, the whole bit. And then they bring their listings in there. And there's communications that only other real estate agents are going to see, such as now required, which is how much of a commission is the seller or the buyer being willing to pay. And so they're negotiating something that actually there's a conflict right there. And that's been the issue. The other part of it is, if you're an agent and know that you're going to get paid by a home listing that's in the MLS, but not the one that's listed by a FSBO, a for sale by owner, and it's only listed on, let's say, Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace. And why would you show your client that one if you are not going to get a buyer's agency fee? So that went to court. It failed. They now have to do it. And I thought that was a good win for consumers, but it's not done yet.
No.
There should be an option for FSBO, for sale by owner people, to have the same fields to enter. They could put in, hey, I'm willing to pay a commission, and then pay to have it listed on the MLS that it gets shown to these agents that can then show it to their clients. That's all there is to it. I think that needs to be released, and that's really the biggest change that I think of. That's it. What are the changes you think about? 979-59-MONEY. That's 979-596-6639. But through experience as an advisor, I can tell you there's some things I would not self-represent on. One is a Social Security disability case. Because once it's denied, you need to try to get it looked at again, and then probably again after that. And the attorneys are actually paid by the Social Security system if it's successful for you. And if you had a good enough case for the attorney to take it, there's probably a good chance that you can probably get it through. But you're going to need the representation. Sitting in front of the IRS on a tax dispute.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely find somebody, a tax attorney, a CPA, an enrolled agent, but somebody who is qualified to represent you.
Estate planning, I definitely I wouldn't build my own trust. Absolutely not.
We learned that from experience, right?
Yeah.
Which I've seen the ones that were drafted by the .coms, and they're standard, and a lot of times they're not specific to the state. You've got to understand there's a giant difference between community property and separate property. Marriages are handled differently. They're handled differently in all the states. So different rules will apply. But basis, step up and basis things, and being efficient with that. There's some planning that really needs to be done and some consultation.
Well, especially with the .coms, you got to understand that they're going to look at the lens through protection and liability, meaning they're not going to put themselves in a position where they can be found at fault for giving bad advice. So it's likely going to be just a simple intake form. Like, here's this field, fill it out. Well, what if you don't understand what that field of information is actually asking for? You put in that wrong information. They feed all that data into that document that you sign that you think you have a tidied up, buttoned up estate plan via a will, when in fact it wasn't, because you didn't have that advice coming from an experienced trust planning attorney that can say, oh, I know exactly what you want. I know exactly what you're talking about. So here's how we want to fill in this information. And I think, clearly that's been a case with the .coms. And, hey, there's some simple situations where I'm sure it's worked out fine, but there's certainly situations where it has not. Or if you're dealing with an attorney who's not a estate planning attorney, they're kind of a jack of all trades and like, yeah, I can draft up your will. How hard could it be, right?
Yeah, well, see, half of the problem with the .coms is the fact that people may be enticed to develop a trust and they never actually change title on their items to the trust, meaning they just undid it. In a simple estate planning type of a conversation, education event could have helped them do that. But here's the other thing. Half of your estate planning is done by you, by beneficiary designations, by how you titled your bank account. Like, people don't really know, and I've not heard this enough, where you can have your personal account. Like, I can have my Brian Wiley, but then I want to add something to it. At the bank, TOD, transfer on death, to, let's say, my wife. So to Sunny Wiley. And that would make my separate property right there be able to be transferred to her when she presents my death certificate to that bank. And that would be done. It doesn't have to be probated. You don't need to have a super smart attorney with that. But on the other hand, it's the diligence of doing it. So usually the attorneys, and if there's ever failures that we see, is they'll develop a trust but not fully help the clients fund the trust. Change the title of the assets to the trust. So when the people who are handling your stuff don't end up in probate trying to prove to the judge why something should be brought into the trust or allowed into it. And I got to tell you, my father passed away last year, and you think that he would have had the greatest financial advice in all the world, and I would have told him all these things. But I actually took a step back when I started in this career, and I told him, I said, because you're a family member, I don't want to be part of your financial advice. And so I just suggested that he would use somebody else. He found them. They were fine. Same thing with the estate planning. And he got the estate plan done, but he never maintained it. Now, he and I didn't have a relationship to the point where when he passed away, but now I'm brought back into this mess, which was so easily avoidable. Now, this mess in particular is the biggest estate planning mess that I've seen in all my career. And sadly, it was my own family member.
Yeah.
Like, that is a massive failure on my part. I think, for one, I probably could have just, if I really wanted to avoid this, just kept a better relationship with him just to avoid this, because then maybe we could have made sure that certain things were in there. But greed happens. And I got to tell you, I don't want any part of his estate, none of it. but I got to protect those who are a part of it. And because I also understand the environment. And there are times where you just got to find the right advice. And I got to tell you, these mistakes are costing that estate a lot of money with attorneys. In fact, in some cases, what we've seen in our career, it's the same attorneys that drafted the paperwork that's now being probated. Mm-hmm. They're defending it and they're getting paid again. So you got to find the good advice. And we do have suggestions on where to get the best advice. In fact, typically we'll refer people to use an attorney that is part of the Wealth Council, that is part of they're getting continued education, and there's a community or good reputable firms. It's the same thing. I don't want to send you to the cheapest one.
Get the education, but you need someone to actually execute that education. And that it's not too dissimilar from the tax side of things too. Like we talked about the estate planning, which again, that generally is the number one can that gets kicked down the road because let's face it, at least most individuals, I'm included, I don't wake up just planning and constantly thinking about my future demise. And so it's like, okay, I know I need to get it done, but, I got some other things going on. So I'll send an email, and then you wait a week, 2 weeks turns into a month turns to 6, and before you know, you're 6 years down the line, something happens. It's like, oh no, how do you unwind this? Meaning that preliminary insight to make sure you can get in front of things, whether it's the taxes, the estate, the investing, the retirement planning, you name it, it's going to be more beneficial. But where do you get that advice, and do you self-represent? And you got to pick and choose your spots so you don't end up into a bit of a predicament.
We got another hour coming up. We'll talk about overconcentration of your investments when we come back.
The Real Money Pros is hosted by Brian Wiley and other team members of Tree City Advisors of Apollon. Tree City Advisors of Apollon is a DBA of Apollon Wealth Management, an SEC-registered investment advisor and affiliate of the Real Money Pros. The Real Money Pros and Tree City of Apollon are not affiliated with any of the companies or non-advisor professionals participating on this program. Ataraxis PEO and Apollon Wealth Management are financial sponsors of the Real Money Pros. Additionally, Apollon receives advisory fees for these sponsors and or their representatives for investment advice. Log into therealmoneypros.com to contact the host for advice, show archives, educational material, and more. This program is brought to you by the quality sponsors heard within this broadcast.
Businesses today face a barrage of challenges. They hunt for top talent, the search for the right benefits package, and the ever-rising tide of healthcare rates. Ataraxis takes the time to learn about your business, crafting personalized solutions to help you and your team succeed. Ataraxis partners with businesses of all sizes and industries. Their mission? To reduce the stress and risk that comes with business owners trying to do it themselves. Visit ataraxispeo.com. Ataraxis, elevating businesses for the benefit of all. Apollon Wealth Management has helped me and my team change the way we conduct our advisory business. The result? We believe we are better equipped to provide the highest level of quality financial planning, investment management, and comprehensive financial advice than ever before. Apollon has been instrumental in our efforts to assist clients in achieving their distinctive financial objectives. If you're an advisor seeking to improve your client experience or an investor seeking to elevate your wealth management to a higher personal standard, contact us at The Real Money Pros. That's therealmoneypros.com. Imagine financial advice without a sales pitch to buy something. Imagine a long-term financial plan focused on your goals, not your investment professionals. At Tree City Advisors, we do things a bit differently than our peers. First, we help you define your purpose for investing. We help you clean up messes and complicated financial issues from your past, empowering you with knowledge, lower fees, and confidence. We design simple, effective investment strategies, and we teach you how it can all work without clutter, confusion, or high costs. Welcome to Tree City Advisors of Apollon. This is the way we think of financial advisors should work for their clients. At Tree City Advisors of Apollon, we provide flat fee financial planning and training. We also offer full service asset-based investment management, and we employ do-it-yourself technologies. Visit treecityadvisors.com. There's never a fee for an initial meeting or review, so let's get started. Learn more at treecityadvisors.com. Advisory services offered through Apollon Wealth Management, LLC, DBA Tree City Advisors of Apollon, an investment advisor registered with the Securities and Exchange Commission.
Are you in the market to buy a house or just looking to refinance your current mortgage? For helping individuals and families achieve affordable homeownership, Academy Mortgage is a first choice. And when finding that perfect loan for the perfect home, you need a company that will treat you like family, not just another file. To help you navigate through today's ever-changing housing market, Academy Mortgage has zero down options available to you. That includes zero down with no mortgage insurance. We also offer medical professional loans and 2-1 rate buy-downs that help lower your monthly payment for the first several years of your loan. Origination, processing, underwriting, and closing and funding will all happen in-house. With over 34 years in the business, we know that buying a home is more than just a house. That's why it's important we protect our customers and safeguard their financial wellness for years to come. Visit us online at academymortgage.com today to start your journey to homeownership with Academy Mortgage. That's academymortgage.com. Academy Mortgage, your first choice home loan lender.
Academy Mortgage Corporation, NMLS 3113, is an equal housing lender.
To offer valuable advice and earn clients' trust as an advisor, it's essential to always put their interests ahead of personal gain or the preferences of any particular company. Advisor Insurance Solutions is dedicated to delivering insurance solutions from an advisory perspective. They provide objective and unbiased insurance planning, making it an integral part of their comprehensive advisory process. If you're looking for insurance guidance that aligns with your financial goals, visit therealmoneypros.com. That's therealmoneypros.com.
Nobody protects you from mayhem like Allstate. I'm a speed bump. Did you hear what I said? I'm a speed bump. And if you have cut-rate car insurance, the cost to reattach your muffler could really be a bump in the road. So switch to Allstate, save money, and be better protected from mayhem, like me.
Based on coverage and limits selected, subject to terms, conditions, and availability. In most states, prices vary based on how you buy. Allstate Bar and Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
Running out of gift ideas for your loved one? Send flowers with Flower Fix. And need to create joy in your living or workspace? With many working from home these days, create joy in your space with flowers. Flower Fix is a subscription-based flower delivery service perfect for birthdays, anniversaries, or any special occasion. We offer 2 subscription options to choose from, a text-based subscription or a traditional one. Enjoy these big, beautiful hand-designed bouquets that are delivered straight from our flower fields to your door. Log on now, www.flowerfix.com, to choose your flowers today. Have control over when you want flowers delivered. Weekly, bi-weekly, monthly? Get your flower fix at flowerfix.com. Use code FlowerFixPro to receive 20% off your first order. flowerfix.com.
I know you've been waiting a little bit longer than normal.
Jen's manicure spot needs an extra pair of hands.
Who's at the front desk right now?
Someone who's handy with everything from nail files to spreadsheet files.
Deidre's not coming in today, but we have that whole bachelorette party.
Indeed can help her hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Instant Match instantly connects you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your sponsored job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Healthcare expenses can be a burden, so why not make the most out of the money that we'd spend anyway? Take advantage of the most powerful tax advantage account title available to us, a health savings account, also known as an HSA. That's why you need Lively. Visit Lively right away. Open your HSA, roll other HSA money into that new plan, and then start saving. I know you're going to love the entire experience. Visit livelyme.com/pro today. That's livelyme.com/PRO.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Gallegos with Price for Life. Do you have a life insurance policy that you'd like to sell? If you don't need the coverage anymore or would rather not keep making the premium payments, visit our website, priceforlife.com. Don't let your policy lapse when you can potentially get a cash payment for it. There are several reasons why a life settlement might be a great value to you. Perhaps your policy is too expensive, or you feel you no longer need the death benefit, or you may think you need to wait until death before your family can get the money from the insurance company. This is why you may want to consider a life settlement. Price for Life has excellent resources available along with a free evaluation process to help you understand the value of your policy and the options available to you. Price for Life's clients have received hundreds of thousands of dollars for their policy when they would have otherwise just let it lapse by stopping the premium payments. Get the compensation you deserve. Visit priceforlife.com today and fill out the case evaluation form to see if your policy qualifies. That's price, the number 4, life.com. priceforlife.com.
Pros is brought to you by The Real Money Pros and the sponsors heard within this broadcast. Material presented on this program may not be suitable for you. Consult a registered investment advisor when evaluating any particular investment, security, or investment strategy. The views, opinions, or advice offered by the hosts and guests do not necessarily reflect those of this station. Brian Wiley and Jeremiah Bates are investment advisor representatives with Apollon Wealth Management, an SEC registered investment advisor. The Real Money Pros with Brian Wiley and Jeremiah Bates, the weekend's smartest money show. Investing, taxes, legal topics, insurance, and every other confusing money topic made simple.
And we're back. This is The Real Money Pros. I am Jeremiah Bates. He is Brian Wiley, fiduciary financial advisors here at your service. This is the second hour of our live 2-hour program, meaning you can interact with us. Phone lines are open. Give us a call, 979-59-MONEY. That is 979-596-6639. I've been told that I talk at a very accelerated rate, so I make it a point to slow down the number. And as a radio show listener myself, I can't tell you how many times I've tried to call for like the ticket sweepstakes, and they give the number, and I can't hear it. It's too fast, and then they put the name of the number. I'm like, well, I don't know what the equivalent number is to the E or the C, so there we go.
How long have you been broadcasting?
Have
you thought about it?
No. Well, I mean,
was it pre-COVID?
I was dipping my toes in.
7 years now?
I would sit in here. I remember there were times I'd sit in front of a microphone and not say anything while you were broadcasting. I don't think that counts, but yeah, before COVID, like legitimately adding some commentary and some thoughts into a microphone. Yeah, pre-COVID.
And then think about how many times you go on during the mornings and the afternoons with local stations talking about market results and market activity. So then you've got those. That's 5 days a week.
Yeah.
Okay. The number of hours they say for expertise, isn't it like 10,000 hours for expertise?
Yeah, it comes from that book Outliers. Yep.
And if you have 2,080 working hours in a year, so roughly 5 years of being focused in your business should qualify you as, this is a very experienced person or whatever it might be. Not real sure that I really believe that. But the funny thing is when I first started broadcasting, Jeremiah, which was a little longer than that ago, I used to talk real fast. And so I think that and then I still kind of do. And then I may have bled off on you a little bit because you are one of the most rounded speakers I've heard. Like you're fantastic at it. And your ability to collect your thoughts. One thing I've always admired about you too, because you're significantly younger than I am, is your level of understanding of the lingos and some of the words and the isms and the sayings of people that we've met with, of older clients over the years. I really appreciate how relatable you are on the air. So that's good stuff. 979-59-MONEY. I don't think you say it too fast. I think I do. 979-596-6639. One thing we do want to put out there is therealmoneypros.com and your ability to learn more about the Better Bucket system. When we talk about financial advisory work and being a fiduciary, we're talking about years and years of experience of knowing what keeps people in their plan. One is you've got to give them a plan and make the plan and work with them on the plan and maintain it, but also make it visual and then have some sort of an action step. But a lot of education has to go with it. We were talking about the Great Recession earlier, and one thing I do remember most is sudden, giant financial, on paper, losses for people because of real estate and their investments and how desperate it was. It was bad. We had clients actually, sadly, take their own lives. Did you have a tough experience back in, let's say, the Great Recession or any other investing time where you had significant losses and you're like, man, if I could just tell people, here's what I could have done to not make that mistake, share that with us. That's how we become better on this program. And if you want to send it to us via email, do that. Go to our website. Use the Ask the Experts feature right there on the page. And so we're here to help you. Phone lines again, 979-596-6639. Jeremiah, let's talk a little bit about that. So I had mentioned overconcentration, and that's really what it was. I remember back in 2008, 2009, people were giving their houses back to the banks, the houses that they had bought speculating, or they had thought they were going to turn into a rental or a flip or whatever it might be. And they were taking on mortgage loan programs, which weren't designed to actually be sustained, were predatory the whole bit, but they were losing vast amounts of money in real estate. But meanwhile, inside the 401ks, we had stock markets going down significantly. right now we sit at a time where we have never seen these high levels in the market. So we got to go back to the warnings at times. And it's not to scare you. It's not about that. It's just saying, hey, these things happen. I do know that there are people who work for companies that their stock recently has done extremely well. And they're really looking at it going, man, I'm making a ton of money. But when do you decide that it's time to start to take the profits or say, hey, a bird in hand?
We're two in the bush.
See, you even knew that one.
Cliches are cliches for a reason.
But people don't remember them.
No.
But when is that time? And overconcentration. I mean, there's been several. I have several stories about this. I mean, then you have the fraud that happens in some companies that destroyed net worths, like with WorldCom, Enron. I remember those sad stories. But then you had just general investors trying to just do the right thing, go through the Great Recession, and see dramatic changes in their expectations moving forward. And was staying in it the right plan? Was that the recovery plan? Maybe getting out. Maybe you should have just never been invested the way that you were. But what was it that you learned from it?
This overconcentration conversation is interesting, and I think it's timely, especially when you look at the just insane growth for particular companies and for those employees that are, through their benefit structuring, like NVIDIA is a great one, right? Where you look at employees of NVIDIA who receive those restricted stock units or shares through various programs, and this can be through publicly traded companies, non-publicly traded companies. I mean, Brian, through your career and my career, we've seen a lot of this. And that does beg the question. And from what I found in those particular cases, what's driving the rationale, which I would argue against, is that they have this expectation that it's going to hit some lofty number, which you could say is a component of greed or however you want to chalk it up, right? Now, there's a lot of clients and a lot of people that I've seen over my career where they have, like, for example, we didn't actually bring them on as a client, but I had a great conversation with them. Great people. They were out of California. I want to say this was pre-COVID. No. This was right after COVID. This was about summer of 2020. And I met with them. They were great people. And then they put all their money in Tesla. And it worked out really well. We're talking big numbers just in this individual company, individual stock. But they did not look at this through the lens of greed. They didn't look at this through any other lens, solely from the standpoint of they liked the company. They believed in the company. Their mindset of that is like, I am a business owner. I am an owner of this business. I've also seen this in a handful of other times where big gains in these individual companies, but every single time it was a measured approach. They believed in the company. They had no issue with any level of volatility, meaning it didn't affect their mindset or their approach. And arguably, they were well covered in other facets as far as liquidity. Like, they weren't like leveraging all of this property to buy this stock, right? Like, their overall finances were in good shape, but arguably, or not arguably, majority of their net worth was tied into this one position. Now, when you look at these cases of the employees or the individuals that are heavily invested in one stock that has been driven off emotion, or this component of trying to hit this specific number, those bouts of volatility, or if there was a drop of like 5% or 10% in that stock, they were losing sleep. You could argue it was a health problem at that point, meaning stress. Like, now you're affecting a bunch of other facets of your life. Like, how was your investment in your money serving you at that point? Not in a place that it should be. So, Brian, asking that specific question of like when do you reach that point of what I would say diminishing returns? It's at that point. Meaning, look at how your money is serving you in a way for quality of life impact. And if you're losing sleep at night because you're overconcentrated in a position and it drops 5-10%, which arguably could be normal market behavior depending on what position you're in. If you're losing sleep over that, I would suggest that you need to reevaluate.
So I'm curious, because you didn't work with those folks. And I understand, I think I know why, which is our industry also requires us to really diversify our clients and try to reduce risk, even if we believe, were they right or wrong? I mean, which is the right answer, though? You have two different perspectives, and I really appreciate this, which is from their standpoint, they did the right thing, if that's what their goals were. And they've got, the Tesla prices now, is higher than $400 now again, right? But anyhow, so it looks really good there. And it could look like, let's say that you were trying to persuade them to go to a diversified allocation. You would look like the bad guy right now in their mind. But from your standpoint, my experience in the industry, especially knowing what happened to people during the Great Recession, real estate, the whole bit, I would say that you actually did the right thing, that you were the correct one in this one. However, not from a financial standpoint, but you really listened to them. So this one's a great conundrum.
Yeah.
For me. Yeah, I don't know. What do you think is the right answer if that was the case? 979-59-MONEY, because we've also seen it with people that were getting into crypto before I even understood what crypto was, getting in at pennies compared to where it is right now. And is the best advice that they were to stay in it till now or stay in it for the future, or should they have already sold out? Were you this person? Tell us about it. 979-596-6639. Greed's never a good thing, but maybe sometimes it's right. It's hard to imagine.
Make this year that you work smarter, not harder with Ataraxis. As your strategic partner, Ataraxis becomes an extension of your business, taking the burden of HR, payroll, benefits, workers' compensation, compliance, and staffing off your plate. You'll have more time to focus on operating and growing your business. Let Ataraxis handle the details so you can focus on what matters most. Learn more at ataraxis.com. That's ATARAXIS.com.
As we age, managing our finances can become increasingly complex with ever-changing tax laws, estate planning, insurance needs, and investment environments. At Apollon Wealth Management, their goal is simple: to help enrich your life with personalized, expert financial advice. With a nationwide network of advisors, they're committed to delivering the best solutions for your financial future. It's time to take control and get the guidance you deserve. Connect with an advisor today by visiting The Real Money Pros. That's therealmoneypros.com.
Looking to make your dream of home ownership a reality? Look no further than Academy Mortgage, your first choice home loan lender. Academy strives to offer the best rates and terms tailored to your financial situation. At Academy Mortgage, you'll be treated like family, not just another file. Navigating today's ever-changing housing market can be challenging, but their team is here to help. Experience the zero-down options, including loans with no mortgage insurance. They also provide specialized medical professional loans and unique 2-to-1 rate buydowns that reduce your monthly payment for the first initial years of your loan. And forget about dealing with brokers and middlemen. With Academy Mortgage, everything happens in-house, from origination to funding. Say goodbye to hassles and surprises. Begin your home ownership journey today by visiting them online at academymortgage.com. That's academymortgage.com.
Academy Mortgage Corporation, NMLS 3113, is an equal housing lender.
Academy Mortgage, your first choice home loan lender.
This open enrollment, start making meaningful progress towards your long-term financial goals. Did you know that a health savings account, or HSA, is the most tax-advantaged account in the U.S.? Contributions are tax-deductible, which reduces your total taxable income. Withdrawals for eligible health expenses are also tax-free. And last, capital gains on investments are also tax-free. Did we also mention that it's free for individuals? Visit livelyme.com/pro today. That's livelyme.com/pro.
To the Real Money Pros.
And we're back. This is the Real Money Pros. Find us at therealmoneypros.com. You can also find us streaming live on YouTube. You can interact with us. Send us a message. You don't want to call the program. Maybe you're a little sheepish. I'll be the first one to admit I am when calling programs. You can send us an email, Jeremiah@therealmoneypros.com, Brian@therealmoneypros.com.
Spell with an I.
Spell with an I, as you say. You spell it the right way. Sorry to all those Brians with a Y. But yeah, send us an email. You got a question, we will answer it on air for you. RealMoneyPros.com. It's where you can take our Better Buckets assessment. Learn how our bucket strategy can help you. We're talking about bouts of volatility, overconcentration, talking about times during the Great Recession. Markets are not too far off all-time highs. We've seen a little bit of pullback this past week, and I've talked about this before, that When the market starts to turn, I don't have the crystal ball, wish I did. That is not the time where you want to start making adjustments. You want to be proactive. Now is a perfect time to understand your desired outcome. Make sure your investments are actually pinpointed to a tangible target. So no matter what the market's doing, you know that your goals, your wants, or wishes are not left to question. And if you're also looking for an advisor, click on go to therealmoneypros.com, click find an advisor on our website, and someone on our team will reach out. But if you want to talk to us directly, phone lines are open, 979-59-MONEY. That is 979-596-6639.
Jeremiah and I were discussing just over the break because we talk about different cases and so on. He says, I got another client that had a defense company position, and it created a large amount of net worth for him. And I know the defense company. I don't think that defense company is going to go away. I think it's a great stock as well. But there's got to be something in there where, I mean, because I would say as well, because I actually know I know quite a bit about the client, but have the discussion at least to say, okay, if everything just went to blank in a handbag, how much money would you need to generate or keep the income or lifestyle that would at least make you not lose all your sleep before that happened? Let's just say you come up with the amount. This is where you're solving for the income. This is what you do. And you come up with the amount. At least it was proposed.
Right.
That was the fiduciary side of it.
Right.
Okay. Because the advice for, let's say, the Tesla stockholder family, which it's hard to deny that has been a great thing for them. And had you been forced to do what you would have to do to have done business with them, you would have had to take them out of a bunch of that, which would have cost them a lot of money. But maybe instead to have that same conversation and say, okay, well, just so we can have that, maybe there's a protection program, or like, could we do like a put strategy, an option strategy to protect your stock, or is there something that should be done to have the conversation so it's out there? I think it's probably a good thing, because the overconcentration, you could be quickly destroyed. I had a client that had a lot of stuff in his WorldCom stock, and WorldCom turned out to be a company driven by a lot of fraud, and it went to zero. He lost everything. I mean, I've seen some interesting, you know who's the worst one? My dad. Again, sorry. He worked for AT&T, Pacific Bell, AT&T. He was a phone guy. He was like third generation doing it. I always admired that he stuck to it and did it. But his pension was going to be paid to him. His future income is going to be paid to him by AT&T. And guess what? His stock, his 401k was loaded up with only AT&T stock. And so I just, I was broadcasting at the time. I was taking clients through the Great Recession at the time. And my dad was wanting to retire. And I said, you might want to think about this, because you don't know, you might like the CEO, but you just don't know about a future one or something that could drive it all the way to nothing. And then you don't even get your pension. Like, you've got a concentration risk issue, and it wasn't that good of a stock anyway. And in fact, when I look at the prices right now, it's actually lower than where it was, but they paid a great dividend along the way. I get it. Now, he's passed away. Well, it actually worked out for him, because none of the things that I told him actually came true, but the advice was still there. Have you gone through one of these things where you could share something with us, with the listeners? 979-59-MONEY. You can send us a message. Go to therealmoneypros.com.
Well, then I think that a lot of times when it's in a non-qualified account, meaning there's heavy concentration in an account that's not a retirement account, meaning it's just held in your name, it's held in joint name with you and your spouse, maybe titled to your trust, whatever it is. A lot of times there's adverse tax consequences that certainly show up in your strategy, or if you just have the idea to start to unwind this. So that's also should be taken into consideration into the protocol, meaning I understand that right place, right time. I'll be the first one to say I'd rather be lucky than skilled any day. And sometimes you've seen it where people hit the mark, whether it's a cryptocurrency gamble or it's like legitimate gamble, or like you show up to Vegas and you go pull that giant novelty slot machine and it's like, I won $5 million, you get the point. But if you understand that, okay, was lucky, got this windfall, whatever the case is, I see that I'm overly concentrated. And if the hesitation is strictly coming from, or a big portion of that is, well, how do I cover the taxes, or you're not paying attention to the taxes, there's plenty of strategies that you can look at as far as porting that stock, offsetting with loss harvesting, whether you're doing some type of trust-based planning for that stock into, if you're charitable minded, meaning or you can strategically gift that stock to your heirs or your kids, where they take on a basis of that is yours. So if they were to turn around and sell it, it doesn't cause as big of a tax boogie. And that's just barely scratching the surface of tactics and strategies that you can use when you're in this over-concentrated position. So you shouldn't just be looking at it as like, oh, if I sell it, I'm going to give out outsized gains, or I'm selling it because I don't want to lose any money. It's like there's a branched out strategy that you can certainly take, in that, hey, you get the education, you find which option. It could be a combination of multiple strategies where you get the protection, you get the buffer, you get the tax efficiencies, and again, you get the liquidity as well. I mean, you don't. At the end of the day, you don't get points in this game of life by having this big number when it's all said and done, right?
You kind of do. I mean, you get the points. Not really.
But again, I mean, hey, it's great to see. It's great to see that, like, Elon Musk. You hear this a lot. Where it's like, oh, he's the richest guy in the world. Well, you understand that his net worth is tied to the valuations of his companies, right? Like, meaning,
assuming you could actually sell them and generate cash for that. Yes,
exactly.
If you got those prices, but.
Like, meaning if Elon Musk were to turn around and sell all of his holdings in Tesla, it probably would affect that price, which then would in turn, it would affect his net worth, right? So I guess the point being is that, great, you have this high valuation, but how do you then turn that into the tactical, the tangible things that you want your money to serve you for, which then you look at the quality of life impact, and you've done great. How do you turn that into an actual tangible thing? And that just changes the conversation of how do you effectively and strategically spend your money? Because in this case, we're talking about people who have arguably hit the mark of investing and saving and hitting, maybe they've surpassed their net worth mark that they thought they would ever achieve. It's like, okay, now we got to change the conversation.
I still say probably not. In fact, the reason why they're not concerned about it right now, and they say, yeah, I feel fine about these strategies, is because it's still working.
Yeah.
That's why. So you don't think about the emotion of the loss because it's still working. It's like those that were, watching their crypto go up and it's just still working. And it really depends on how tight their lens has to get on the event. Sometimes if it's daily, then then it's not working. But if they're only looking at it every 3 years, 4 years, then it's still working until it gets smoked. And that's kind of my point. Is I've seen it. I know that people have seen it. I know people are listening to this program and have seen it. Maybe it wasn't even a stock. Could have been real estate, a bad deal, a business. 979-59-MONEY. Tell us about it. 979-596-6639. This is Real Money Pros. I'm Brian Wiley with Jeremiah Bates. Let's switch up the topic a little bit, and let's talk about some of the momentum that is still going and reasons why it should or should not still exist. All right, we'll do that when we come back.
Apollon Wealth Management has transformed the way our team delivers financial advice. With their support, we're more equipped and more empowered than ever to provide top-tier financial planning, investment management, and personalized financial guidance. Apollon has been a key partner in helping us achieve our clients' unique financial goals. Whether you're an advisor looking to enhance your client experience or an investor ready to take your wealth management to the next level, reach out today to the Real Money Pros by visiting therealmoneypros.com. Let's elevate your financial future today.
I'm Nick Daniels with Tree City Advisors of Apollon. My team and I help our clients implement tax-smart strategies because taxes are one of the largest headwinds your investments face. We use strategies like Roth conversions, 1031 exchanges, and more because a good advisor should help you with more than just investment selection. Visit us today at treecityadvisors.com or call us at 208-888-1244.
Advisory services offered through Apollon Wealth Management, LLC, DBA Tree City Advisors of Apollon, an investment advisor registered with the Securities and Exchange Commission.
As a financial advisor, I often see that many families I meet with end up paying way too much money in taxes. If a healthy family has an insurance plan with a low deductible but high annual premium, why wouldn't they look at a high deductible insurance plan instead? They could save on their premiums and put those saved dollars into a health savings account, also known as an HSA. It's the most powerful tax advantage account title available to us, so why not use it? Take advantage of pre-tax money that could be grown tax-free and then then use tax-free for all of your qualified healthcare expenses. That's why you need Lively. Our favorite because it's simple, fast, and free. I use it, my colleagues use it, and I recommend it to all of my clients. Visit Lively right away. You can even roll over your existing HSA money into this new plan and start saving right away. I know you're going to love the entire experience. Visit livelyme.com/pro today. That's livelyme.com/PRO. Lively is a proud sponsor of the Real Money Pros.
Begin your home ownership journey today. Look no further than Academy Mortgage, your first choice home loan lender. And forget about dealing with brokers and middlemen. With Academy Mortgage, everything happens in-house, from origination to funding. Say goodbye to hassles and surprises. Their team of seasoned professionals will be with you every step of the way. That's academymortgage.com. Academy Mortgage, your first choice home loan lender.
Academy Mortgage Corporation, NMLS 3113, is an equal housing lender.
Imagine financial advice without a sales pitch to buy something, and imagine a long-term financial plan focused on your goals, not somebody else's, and the day that you can leave your broker because you know how to do things on your own. At Tree City Advisors, we do things a bit differently than our peers. First, we help you define your purpose for investing. We help you clean up messes or complicated financial issues from your past. We help you organize all your financial pieces into something manageable. We're a fiduciary-only firm, and we design simple strategies. And we teach you how it all works without clutter, confusion, or high cost. We can either do your investments for you, or we can teach you how to do them on your own. In the end, we empower you with knowledge, lower fees, and confidence. Welcome to Tree City Advisors. This is the way we think if financial advisors should work for their clients. At Tree City Advisors, we provide flat fee planning and training. We also offer full service asset management, and we employ do-it-yourself technologies. There's never a fee for an initial meeting or review, so let's get started. Learn more at treecityadvisors.com. Tree City Advisors is an SEC registered investment advisor.
You're listening to The Real Money Pros.
We are back. This is The Real Money Pros, therealmoneypros.com. We're going to probably get into a discussion about bucket-based investing and that better buckets that we have talked about that's part of therealmoneypros.com. So if you want to get a preview on that or learn about it, go to our website. We're not selling you a thing other than just great advertisers, and it's connected to our advice that you hear on the program. Plus, this is a live program. If you've got questions, comments, if you want to talk about estate planning or taxes or markets, real estate, whatever you'd like, then let's have the discussion here on the program. 979-596-6639. And as Jeremiah had mentioned earlier, you can go to our website and use the Ask the Experts feature on the front page, which we got an email for. Now, things are not always going to continue. And that was kind of what I was leading into with this new segment of the program, which is I've learned that the markets will cycle out, that sometimes the greatest ideas don't remain the greatest ideas. But sometimes I've been flat wrong, too. I had clients that were dumping money back in Amazon, like in the 90s, late 90s, in the 2000s, and then they started coming down. They panicked and so on. They weren't paying a dividend. There was no real value there. It was all based on some future promises of what Jeff Bezos wanted that company to become, which at the time we didn't really understand. So there's a conflict in the advice. One is I want to do what's right for the client, but I don't actually know if that's going to produce the absolute best financial result for them always. Things don't always continue. Here's another one. It leads into the question you just received on the email, which is the great dividends and great income rates that you were able to get 6 years ago.
Yeah, so this is a question that came through the email. So no Ask the Experts feature on the website, but you can send us an email directly, Jeremiah at therealmoneypros.com, Brian at therealmoneypros.com. Just got to put that out there. So a question came via email. I don't see a first name. It just starts with the letter S. So S asks, I'm wondering where you are putting your middle bucket money for a high rate. No rental property. We just want to look at dividend stocks and bond funds. Or currently, dividend stocks and bond funds are paying 3%. Also, money market funds in the first bucket are still paying around 3.5%, which is just as good as a lot of bond funds. Can you please explain with some examples? Oh, sorry, I see the name at the bottom. Doug. Thank you, Doug.
Man, that's a great visual right there on risk-only investments. Meaning, if he's basically saying, why wouldn't I just be in these guaranteed money funds or FDIC insured accounts and earning the same rate as I am taking some risk being in a bond that could go up and down or in value or maybe even see a default for all that matters? And he's exactly right. About 4 years ago, we had some of the best income environment we've really ever seen. You could go into a lot of dividend-paying stocks, and they were paying 7-8%. It's very tightly related to what's going on in the rest of the economy, where you've got these high rates because they're competing. And you had these really low lending rates and so on. So there's just a lot of money out there, and it tightened up. So then we saw it really tightened up where it's hard to generate the income, but there are still investments out there that will generate great incomes. And you've got to look at dividends. You look at bond interest. You can look at other investments. I'd be careful with some of them. They get a little too fancy. But talk about what's inside that income bucket.
Well, you nailed it. I mean, it's kind of vague when you look at bond funds, because when you're looking at the ecosystem of bonds, not all bonds are cut the same, where you're going to look at what's known as investment grade bonds versus junk bonds. And the easy way to visualize that is risk versus reward. The more risk you're willing to take, or the more risky the bond is, meaning the issuer of the bond and looking at its ability to make good on paying the principal back at the maturity of that bond. If it's a lower rated bond from these various rating agencies, which generally speaking, it's used as a measuring stick to say, hey, how safe is this bond? If you're looking at a highly rated investment grade bond from a company that you know its balance sheet is intact, is generating tremendous cash flow, those are generally going to pay less than if you went a little bit further out on that risk curve and you were looking at maybe a junk bond where maybe it's, and sometimes that junk bond is a bit of a misnomer.
It's a derogatory term.
It does it like, oh, is it really junk? No, it just means that the rating agency, per their whole process of doing their rating, it's not meeting these certain marks, so they just give it a lower rating, which means it could be a smaller company, a less established company. Maybe they have a little more debt, a little more cash flow. You get the idea. So when we're talking
succinctly, a junk bond is just not. It didn't qualify to be an investment grade bond.
There you go.
The investment grade bond would then be in the rules of a lot of mutual fund companies or investment policies. And so if it's not that, then it's junk. That's really what it is.
Yeah, so when we're talking about those bond funds, I would argue, Doug, in your question, it's like, what bond funds are you actually looking at? Because there are some bond funds that are out there that are paying more than 3%. Now, I want to bring this back to this. Again, if we're talking about the buckets, each bucket has a specific purpose from an investment standpoint. If we're looking at your short-term bucket of money, the goal of that is to keep your money protected. It's stable. This is where you sleep easy. You have peace of mind. You have plenty of liquidity on hand to, number one, withstand market volatility. If we see a bear market, we see a recession, that you know that you don't have investments or assets that are subject to that potential of a loss. Now, you may be giving up some potential for the upside gain, but remember, that first bucket is not here to give you gains. It's here to give you protection. Again, you want to bring it back to risk reward. You're taking little to no risk, but you're also going to stand you're not going to get a reward. That's bucket number one, money that you're generally going to need within a short amount of time. Your third bucket of money, that's growth money. We know we're not going to touch it for probably a decade or more.
You don't need any current income from it.
We do not need income.
Nope.
We don't need liquidity out of that bucket. So that means that you can take more risk for that greater return. Again, following proper investment methods. Stay well diversified. Don't put all your eggs in one basket, all of that. We just had that conversation about concentration. Now we can talk about your middle bucket, your income bucket. And that lens, the metric of performance, is income. Yes, the value of that bucket may go up or down depending on what the market says that it's worth. Take a rental property, for example. The real estate market will value your rental property, but you're probably not on Zillow every day or a tax assessor website saying, what is this rental property worth? But I can guarantee you're looking for that rent payment from your tenant, and hopefully they're taking care of the property. And of course, there's liabilities that come with rental properties. We'll put those to the side. But if we're just looking at it from a number standpoint, are you getting that rent from your tenant on a monthly basis? So now we look at other investment options that give us that same outcome. So dividend-paying stocks. There are dividend-paying stocks that are paying more than 3%. Maybe not to where it was, where we saw a couple years ago, but they're still out there. Good blue chip stocks. Yeah, maybe they're not going to be high growers like you'd see in an NVIDIA, just because maybe that stock is in an industry where
they can't keep pace.
Well, yeah, and
stock goes up, they can't pay out enough earnings to have an actual real yield.
And they're not doing anything revolutionary for research and development, meaning it's just they do what they do, and they're not going to have some revolutionary technology. But hey, they have good cash flows, so we're going to reward shareholders from the standpoint of paying dividends, and that's how they kind of manage their operations for a company. And then that profit they'll pay in a dividend. That's great. That's a dividend-paying stock. Bond funds we just talked about, and there's other options too. You could look at whether it's a bond fund, an individual bond that you actually own directly. Preferred stock funds is an option. But now here's the thing that I want to get at, though. When you talk about, Doug, that, hey, where can I find a high rate? You have to be careful with this, because if you find a yield on a stock that's maybe paying 11 or 12%, okay, why is it paying 11 and 12%? What's been its history of maintaining that dividend? Because a high dividend sounds great until the underlying share price completely craters to nothing, and then that income that you're producing on that's kind of a moot point, because that company likely won't be able to maintain that dividend.
So make a visual of this one, and here's how you can actually look at this, which is if the yield is high, think about this like a teeter-totter. And I'm going to use my, if you're watching on the video, so on the left side of your screen, I'm a little higher on one finger, and the other one is a little lower, and the fulcrum in the middle is going to be the dividend, or the amount of money that is paid. If it's of high value, then the other side, the right side of it, the price is going to be higher, and the yield, actually the yield coming out of it is going to be lower. But the interest payment or the dividend payment, the assumption is it remained the same. And that's what we're focused on, that middle bucket is the fulcrum piece. It's, did you still receive the dividend? Are you still receiving the interest? And does it appear that even though the price is going higher or lower and changing the yield for new buyers or sellers, then are we okay with that? Does it seem like the payee is still going to continue? And that's really the criteria right there, which is, let's focus on, did you receive the payment? If it received the payment, then now we're in the income bucket. That helps us describe what then to buy. Because how did we get into the income bucket in the first place? We got in there because we calculated how much money was needed. So that amount then gets divided by the amount of interest or yield that we know that we can go out and invest confidently, probably not with surety, but confidently that we'll be able to continue to receive that amount. So we've solved ourselves into this amount by the yield to generate the amount of income that was necessary. All the rest goes to the growth bucket, as long as the client can handle the risk tolerance of that and understand the long-term money part of it. The visual part of it is really important. So again, that teeter-totter right there with the price on one side and the yield on the other, determined by the amount of income, but it's a ratio in there. And so it's going to change. The market's going to continually revalue it. Yes, there are still decent incomes out there, but you got to figure on that teeter-totter, if you're getting a low yield, you got to assume that the price is relatively high right now. That's it. So you could be buying into something that will have a price that will lower, the yield will go higher for somebody else, but you're still focused on whether the amount of money coming out was the appropriate amount. This is the Real Money Pros. Jeremiah Bates. I'm Brian Wiley. Phone lines are open 979-596-6639.
Businesses today face a barrage of challenges. They hunt for top talent, the search for the right benefits package, and the ever-rising tide of healthcare rates. And putting together the right team to run your HR-related tasks can be expensive, let alone time-consuming. Enter Ataraxis PEO, your professional employer organization ready to tackle all your HR needs, from payroll to benefits administration, payroll services, workers' compensation, and talent recruiting. They've got you covered. With Ataraxis, you gain access to a team of experts who handle the nitty-gritty of HR, freeing you up to focus on what you do best, growing your business and growing your revenue. Ataraxis takes the time to learn about your business, crafting personalized solutions to help you and your team succeed. So say goodbye to the stress of HR administration and hello to Ataraxis. Experience the power of a true business partner with Ataraxis PEO. Visit ataraxispeo.com. That's ATARAXISPEO.com. Ataraxis, elevating businesses for the benefit of all.
Have you ever met with a financial advisor looking for some advice just to leave being sold an annuity you didn't want? At Tree City Advisors of Apollon, we do things a bit differently. We focus on your financial goals, helping you fix past mistakes, simplify your current finances, and plan for the future with confidence. Your first consultation is always free and without obligation. Visit TreeCityAdvisors.com and start your journey to financial freedom now. That's TreeCityAdvisors.com.
As a financial advisor, I often see that many families I meet with end up paying way too much money in taxes. If a healthy family has an insurance plan with a low deductible but high annual premium, why wouldn't they look at a high deductible insurance plan instead? They could save on their premiums and put those saved dollars into a health savings account, also known as an HSA. It's the most powerful tax advantage account title available to us, so why not use it? Take advantage of pre-tax money that could be grown tax-free and then use tax-free for all of your qualified healthcare expenses. That's why you need Lively, our favorite because it's simple, fast, and free. I use it, my colleagues use it, and I recommend it to all of my clients. Visit Lively right away. You can even roll over your existing HSA money into this new plan and start saving right away. I know you're going to love the entire experience. Visit livelyme.com/pro today. That's livelyme.com/PRO. Lively is a proud sponsor of the Real Money Pros.
To the Real Money Pros.
We are back. This is the Real Money Pros, therealmoneypros.com. Find us there. Send us an email. It's Jeremiah at therealmoneypros.com or Brian, I spell it the right way with an I, at therealmoneypros.com. If you got questions, we'll answer them. We'll send it to another financial advisor who works as a fiduciary. They can answer it in more detail if you'd like it, but we're here for you. What I was starting to get at when I was talking about that teeter-totter with the bond price on one side or the stock price on one side and the yield on the other and the fulcrum in the middle is what I'm trying to say is that, but we're still buying it for that income piece. And the problem with most investors is that they'll stare at the fluctuations in the market value. The market value of liquidating their position will go up and down, and it will change their view on that income when it's still the income that was calculated to get them into it. Now, we have to understand capital stack as well. The capital stack, like how it works, which is if you are going to lend somebody some money, you might want it securitized. So you've got secured debts, or you do it off of their good credits and unsecured debt. And then you have companies will raise money by issuing stock and selling ownership in essence and generating money and may pay a dividend. But the dividend in all common stock is optional to the company. They are not required to pay a dividend if it was not declared. If they declare it, they've got to pay the dividend. And if they don't declare a dividend and pay one, they don't owe you the money. Now, they may want to pay it back to keep their credit good and maybe keep them on the dividend aristocrats list or whatever it might be, but they've got to pay the dividend. So the boards typically are trying to stabilize the stock. They have a target dividend that they want to be able to pay. So let's say Procter & Gamble or something like that. They don't pay much of a dividend at all, but their board is focused on trying to maintain that dividend and to create stability in the stock and keep people from buying and selling it and having it go all over the place, but still to keep paying it. And I don't believe they disrupted their dividend ever. I think they may have lowered it. I don't follow the stock.
And this is another important thing to note, that if you look at these steady Eddie dividend payers, once they announce that dividend, you arrive at what's called an ex-dividend date, meaning for you to receive that dividend that is declared, you need to own the stock on that date. So it's not uncommon where you see that price drop a little bit after that date because it's like, hey, I'm going to own the stock for this dividend, and as soon as we get past that date where I'm guaranteed that I'm going to get it based on the date that I owned it, yeah, we'll sell it. So just a little market dynamic there. But again, in your Procter Gamble example, again, not advocating for you to go buy Procter & Gamble, to be clear. But if you look at the dividend that it's actually paying right now, it's $4.23. Meaning, if you bought one share of Procter & Gamble, which is around $160, you're paying $160 for that dividend of $4.23.
Which equals what percentage yield?
2.64%.
Okay. Now think about that on the teeter-totter. So it's 2-point-something%. You got a stock at $160, and now we know the number to put on the right side. We know the number to put on the left side of the yield, and the number that was in the fulcrum is that $4 and something that you mentioned.
4.23.
That's, if you're interested in buying that income, then that's what you're actually buying it for. And you shouldn't be too concerned about the fluctuations in the stock as long as it seems that, the yield generally is between 2 and 3.5%. That's usually a function of the board, by the way. They're trying to stabilize it. And that just means that you probably won't see too much movement. But don't expect a higher yield. You're not going to get it. You might get some increases in the dividend amount over time, but it's probably going to be really close to inflation, something like that. We will have to take higher risk to get the higher yield if that's the case, but otherwise still calculate yourself into the right amount to be able to buy that money. Pensions work the same way. Annuities work the same way, which is you accumulate some level of cash. Like in a company used to go out and they could market that. They could say, hey, we got $400,000 set aside for this employee. How much income is that going to generate them? And then calculate it based on their current economic conditions and expectations and what they're going to do. And they come back with a yield. And that yield might not be high enough to make the obligation of the payment to the employee. So that company would have to increase the amount of cash that they need to put in to buy that income. And that's the reason why when you are looking at leaving a company and you've got a pension buyout calculation coming your way, you want it to be current, and it's going to be, and you're going to really want to figure out when it is that they reset them and look at the rest of the market, because they may go out there as well and try to sell it to some company that would provide it as an annuity.
Well, yeah, and then it's helpful too for your kind of base foundation of decision making when it comes to that pension. Meaning, generally speaking, they might give you some options. Can you take that lump sum out, which you can then self-control, right? Meaning you have the decision of how that money is invested. Or do you leave it with the company and pensionize it? Meaning you give away that lump sum in exchange for a
payment and a lifetime guarantee, whatever it's.
I'm going to use air quotes, guaranteed, meaning
right.
the ability for that pension to continue to pay. And then you can make that, then you compare it. Say, okay, here's what the company is going to determine what I'm going to receive on an annualized payout basis. Then you can go compare that to other options if you're really focused on what is the equivalent to that. So you're actually comparing apples to apples, but it's important to understand that nuance, Brian, especially when, it's not like pensions are very common these days, but you still see them, and it's a very important thing that you need to put in the equation. Like the answer isn't always just, oh, yeah, I'm going to take the pension because I want that income. It's like, what are you giving away? Meaning you got to take a look at the landscape and see if you're focused on generating that income, is there better options that are maybe just as safe or maybe even safer that can give you that assurance of that continued income through the rest of your life, or maybe for your life and your spouse, or maybe it carries on to someone else?
So that's the end of that visual on that one too, which is the lump sum buyout amount will be higher when the overall market yields as competitors are low. So when do you actually take the lump sum? We will see different economic cycles, or you can kind of see general trends. Right now, we know that it appears that interest rates are generally getting lower. That means lump sum buyouts will probably generally go higher, which means some cases people say, should I retire right now? And you say, well, when does your company index this one? When do they take a look at it? Oh, they do it in December. All right, well, let's wait till December based on these trends. We think the lump sum amount will go up. Yeah. And that would help maximize it. You could then take that amount and figure out, could I go out there and buy the same amount of income elsewhere? Could I generate an income bucket? Should I do this? Can I handle it from a risk tolerance standpoint? And this is really where we want you to understand the Better Bucket system, because this helps you actually understand how to put an investment inside the bucket. When you read that email earlier, I was picturing what he had said. He goes, in the first bucket, I'm able to generate 3.5% through really stable investments, meaning that is really nice, but that is not the expectation. And he says, then what would we put in the middle one? And it looks like it's generally about the same. Well, it's because the income markets are not that great, but we got to figure out the amount of money that needs to be put in that income bucket. Then figure out, can you actually go out there and buy that amount of money?
Yeah.
And right now, I would tell you that the prices are high and the yields are generally low, and so that has to be the expectation. Your protection is over there in that growth market bucket, because as you generate high returns there or something that exceeds like your Tesla, you start to take some of that and then you add it and you buy yourself more income. And then when you get the more income, you have more money to put in the first bucket, and that then gets moved into your budget, your actual checking account when you're trying to live on it. That's a simple explanation of how the buckets work. I mean, if you could stick to that, you've got a high chance of being successful in your investing life. The problem, as we mentioned at the beginning of the program, is that even though we believe that most people and everybody is capable of managing their own investments, the question is, will you actually do it? Will you take the time to educate yourself, try to figure out how to find your fear points, your greed points, and make a good decision that is going to help you get to the goal? And sometimes it's nice to have the guidance, just to ping it off of somebody.
Just to ping it, and then also developing the strategy, and just as important, sticking to it.
Oh, you got it.
Well, it's that cliche saying again. Cliches are cliches for a reason. But Mike Tyson's got a great quote. He's like, everyone's got a plan until you get punched in the face. And arguably, we haven't seen a big punch, a big knockout blow from the market, right? We've been on a pretty good bull run. And I would argue that these are the times where you measure yourself and you don't fall victim to going against your strategy, because then that's where things can get a little cattywampus a little bit, where you start to maybe I should be looking at the more growth bucket, or I'm starting to get nervous, so now I really need to get in protection mode, but you're just putting yourself at a disadvantage. Again, the beauty of the bucket system is this. Not only is it mathematically solved for to generate that income, cover the liquidity, cover the growth, but it's the emotional component. The emotional component that you know that you can weather the storm no matter what the market throws at you, because we know it can throw some fastballs. We've seen it in the past. So are you willing to change your stance? We'll be back next weekend.
The Real Money Pros is hosted by Brian Wiley and other team members of Tree City Advisors of Apollon. Tree City Advisors of Apollon is a DBA of Apollon Wealth Management, an SEC-registered investment advisor and affiliate of the Real Money Pros. The Real Money Pros and Tree City of Apollon are not affiliated with any of the companies or non-advisor professionals participating on this program. Ataraxis PEO and Apollon Wealth Management are financial sponsors of the Real Money Pros. Additionally, Apollon receives advisory fees for these sponsors and or their representatives for investment advice. Log into therealmoneypros.com to contact the host for advice, show archives, educational material, and more. This program is brought to you by the quality sponsors heard within this broadcast.
Businesses today face a barrage of challenges. They hunt for top talent, the search for the right benefits package, and the ever-rising tide of healthcare rates. Ataraxis takes the time to learn about your